Let's get it.
DC, what? DC, DC, DC. Break out. DC. It's DC, the place that'll get raunchy. Same spot made Biggie wanna rock Versace. DC, home of the Prez, home of the Feds, home of some of the most notorious crackers.
All right, as you see, we have one member that is not here today. He's doing some stuff that he did not tell us about. But we have a special guest today. His name is Mitch Tishler. Did I say that right, Mitch?
Nailed it. It's an upgrade on your trio.
He is part of the Washington Football Talk podcast. He is a Maryland alum, Fear them Turks, Operation for NBCS Washington. And what is this thing about PB&J aficionado? Now, is that creamy or is that chunky? Which one is it?
It's got to be crunchy. If you're making a PB&J, it's got to be crunchy.
Well, if you are a crunchy cookie aficionado, then I would assume you had crunchy peanut butter too.
Listen, if you're having, either white bread or wheat bread, creamy PB and jelly, why do you even need teeth? What are we, 86 or 12 or 3? Like, give me a little texture to it. Give me a little something that makes it a little special. So it's gotta be crunchy.
Yeah, you gotta have a reason for what you like, right?
Exactly.
All right, so listen, they got a new thing coming up to this week for the football game, which they popped on us at the last minute. It felt like anyway, which is they are retiring the number 21. Now, is it just a fan perspective that this felt like it came on all of a sudden, or is this something that was in the works that we did not see?
Certainly, the team will tell you it's been in the works. I don't know if it was in the works to this level. I can tell you, going back about 3 weeks to a month or so, we were told that Pedro Taylor was going to be in attendance and that they were going to be honoring Sean Taylor. Now, to me, honoring Sean Taylor and retiring 21 are two totally different things. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you this, that is the biggest win that this franchise had left. It's the biggest trump card that they had left in their deck to bring fans to the stadium. And if they would have just announced it early, the stadium would have been packed with Washington football fans. People would have flown in from all over the country, probably all over the world, to come to this game, to honor Sean, to have that one last moment with him. And to announce it 3 days beforehand seems disingenuous at best and cynical at worst. I mean, it's really the fumble to the biggest proportion that this team could have.
Right. Now, Mitch, I had a question. Do you think last week's football game was quite a many, Saints fans there? And I heard attendance was around 45,000, somewhere around there.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, somewhere around there. The attendance was low for this area, specifically that particular stadium. Do you think this is a issue where they're trying to maybe gain a couple, seats in the building and sell a couple dogs or sell some more beer or something like that? And they're gonna just disrespect Sean like this? To me, number 21, one of the greatest safeties to ever play football. It was just. That's how it comes across. Like they just trying to sell some extra hot dogs and beer or something. It just does not come across. I found out about it literally driving home from work today, that they were, retiring Sean's number. And
yeah,
that's the last minute. I made plans this weekend and everything. I might have went to the game. If I knew a couple months ago they were going to do this.
I think that's the problem with it is. Not only your fans around the country that would come in, but all your local fans. Those that are going to come to the game already had tickets. Everyone else is making plans, going to the pumpkin patch with their families, going out of town. Aunts, uncles are visiting, whatever it may be. Everyone would have come to this game. So if it was just about selling tickets or just about an extra beer, an extra dog, or whatever it may be, announce it in advance. When they retired Bobby Mitchell's number and dedicated the concourse to him, they announced that in June. Today, FedEx Field announced that Coldplay, the band, was coming to play at the stadium in September of 2022. And you're giving us 3 days to know that Sean Taylor is going to have his number retired. Now, the field and the FedEx Field announcing the band coming and the team announcing the retirement, those are two separate sides of the business, but it just shows you how far in advance you can plan if you really want to sell tickets and you really want to make this an event.
Right.
It was such a slam dunk. It was such a home run. Every sports analogy that's there were so many opportunities to do good by this fan base who has stood by under so many tough circumstances, so many embarrassing moments, so many things, so much losing on the field. You had an opportunity to embrace them and do what everyone knows needed to be done, and that's retire Sean Taylor's number. It just did it in such a weird, meek way.
Yeah, a lot of times, with the presidency and stuff, you call it wag the dog. And I don't want to beat up on the team management too much, but with the stuff coming out about the emails that were part of our investigation, and John Gruden got caught up in it, is this a reaction to that? Trying to give us something else to think about, something else to talk about and revel in, as opposed to just being upset that once again, he who said we had a great what do you call it?
Culture. The culture is damn good.
It just seems like it's too
convenient.
Yeah, too convenient, too last minute for it to be anything else other than that.
Certainly on the surface, it seems that way. I give Jason Wright credit. They screwed this up, and he apologized publicly for the screw up. And so in that regard, the guy who said the culture is damn good, Bruce Allen, would have never apologized, would have never acknowledged that he made a mistake. So in some regards, I give Jason Wright credit for being a man and standing up and saying, hey, it's on me. And I think part of it is that the new group of folks that are here don't necessarily know or maybe understand how deep the roots are with Sean Taylor, with this fan base, and how important and honestly seminal this moment will be, for fans who lived through that tragedy 14 years ago or so. And all that being said, the previous guy that was here, Bruce Allen, the son of George Allen, Hall of Famer, grew up in the burgundy and gold, knew everything about it, start to finish, never retired 21 himself. So it's not like that guy was going to do it right.
Right.
So I give Jason some credit for getting in front and apologizing before, before it maybe took on a life of its own. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone can say anything else other than it's an entire screw up, and whether it was done as a cover up for all the other things. I mean, we've all been to the gym before, right? We've all gone and worked out, played some hoops, whatever it may have been, then gone on a date, thrown on a little deodorant. It works for about an hour or two, but ultimately you're still smelly. You still stink. So to use Sean Taylor as a deodorant is kind of weak to me.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Mitch, we want to move on towards football.
Happier things.
Happier things. We're football fans, and we've been kind of disappointed a little bit. We had such high hope for our defense and such high hope for just being able, being a top. Hopefully, we'll be a top 5 defense this year, and just not having met that match. Now, I think we're number 31 or 30 or 29 or somewhere around there, ranking wise. And by me and the Deacon here playing high school and college ball, we can see just watching on TV and the little clips that we see, we can see some, areas of weakness that, that we can't believe. We're not at practice. So I'm asking you, do you see these areas of weakness in practice or during the summer when they were doing, was that same areas of weakness that we're seeing during the game? Was that being shown up in practice?
So just to, I guess, take you behind the curtain a little bit, during minicamp, OTAs, and training camp, we get to be out there for the entirety of practice. We get to see, from the first minute to the end of the second hour. Once the season starts, we get about 20 minutes of practice viewing, and then we're taken away and the team practices. And part of that's they don't want to give away, any game plan. They don't want media seeing and talking about, oh man, did you see X, Y, or Z do this? So the amount of practice, the parts of practice that we see now are stretching, individual drills, and then some one-on-ones. So we don't get to see any of the 11-on-11. We don't really get to see any 7-on-7 even at that point. So to say what we see in practice versus what we see on the field is tough to say right now. But certainly in training camp, which is the most recent, full practices we watched, no, you didn't see that. And you didn't see the total breakdowns, meltdowns in the back end. The front four consistently got after the quarterback, to the point that we were super concerned about Sam Cosmi and Charles Leno, the two tackles, because Chase and Montez were having their way with them every single practice. And Chase Young and Montez Sweat were getting frustrated, and even John Allen up the middle some, because they had to pull up, they had to hold up, they couldn't sack the quarterback, as you will. And so as we got to the season, we had big expectations for those front four, just like everybody else did, all those first-round picks. And I think the biggest issue, at least early on in the season, was that the coaches expected that to happen too. And so they didn't really spend a lot of time blitzing. They didn't really get exotic with your front four because they thought that those guys were going to be able to win those one-on-one matchups, force quarterbacks to throw quickly, and then the secondary could do what they do. You have a couple guys who have, who are ball hawks who at least have their eyes on the ball a lot, Kendall Fuller and William Jackson, and Benjamin St. Juste looked really good during training camp as well. And I think he's coming along as we go. But I think the biggest issue with the defense is that there was this big reliance that the front four was going to be able to cause so much havoc, so much pressure on these quarterbacks that that the back end wasn't going to have to cover for a long period of time, and they could sit and they could play some of these cloud or off coverage defenses, because the front four was going to force quarterbacks to make quick decisions, and then your DBs can break on the ball easy.
Right. See, I see what I'm concerned about is it sounds like Jack Del Rio doesn't have Jamin Davis in the game plan. I mean, he's playing like 12 to 15 snaps a game, and you really can't get game acclimated, speed acclimated to a game when you just in and out so readily. And I'm not so much concerned about that because if you put him in there, I think he can play. Now, hopefully we didn't miss on our number one pick, because there are other linebackers out there that we could have gotten that are playing, and they balling.
Twice.
Yes.
JFK.
Yeah, and both went to the same team. So my concern is hopefully they'll start to play him more. And I thought they would play him more once Bostic went down, but apparently that wasn't the case so far. Now, my real concern about the defense is the back end. I mean, these two guys back here, Bobby McCain and Landon Collins, are professionals. They got to get on the same page. Now, I don't know whether it's scheme-wise, because like you were saying, we were hoping that the front line of the defense would cause ruckus, and these guys wouldn't have to be back there, on an island all day. Maybe we just scheming too much. Maybe we just need to play basic defense. Play a cover two, safeties deep. Anything we get beat on the same play every game. Every game.
The exact same play.
The same corner. I mean, it's from the right side goes down post, and we get killed. And
same combination.
Yes.
Listen, I think Landon Collins has not played well, clearly. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. He clearly doesn't have the speed that he once did. And early on in the season, I was ready to put a lot more blame on the players, on Landon Collins, on Bobby McCain, on Kendall Fuller, on Benjamin St. Juste, these guys. But the fact that we're now going into week 6 and you're seeing the same mistakes over and over and over again leads me to this has to be coaching in some regards. Now, it's certainly some on the players. It's not 100% on either side. Right. But either the coaches aren't teaching it in a way that the players can apply it on game day, or whatever they are teaching is trash. And considering that Jack Del Rio has been in the league as long as he has, same with Ron Rivera and, some of those other defensive coaches, leads me to believe that they're just not communicating very well with these DBs, because the same route combinations are beating them every single week. You throw a guy in the slot, you run a hook, send a guy on the outside, and he runs a 7, and it's a touchdown every time. And you can't keep having that happen every single week and not make adjustments, either in player personnel, in scheme, or in the way that you're teaching these guys to be out there. And that's a huge problem. And I don't know that as long as they keep rolling out, Landon and Bobby, I don't know that it's going to fix itself. It's one of those things that the coaches aren't, at least outwardly to the media and in public, admit that they have made a mistake or that they need to change things. They keep talking about it being 1 or 2 plays. And there are 1 or 2 huge plays, but this weekend or last weekend against the Saints was the first time they got a stop on the opening possession for the other team. Like these guys are going up and down the field at will, and yeah, there's one or two, big embarrassing plays, the Hail Mary, the 72-yarder, but it's not like they're stopping guys the other 52 plays of the game. Those guys are still gaining 8 yards of play, and you're still the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. It ain't good.
Yeah, I didn't think Jameis Winston was a top 10 or top 15 quarterback, and I don't think he even played good against us. He made the plays to win, obviously, because he won, but he wasn't on point, but there were people, he was consistently, making those long splash plays, and it was quite a few 15-yard plays and 20-yard plays that shouldn't have been there that was confusing to me. But I did want to ask a question, switch over to the offense for just a second. And on Samuel's groin, are you able to see them stretch, or is he running at all properly, or have you seen him at all this week? Because he went out there for the first quarter and then he was out. We didn't see him anymore. I see he's still in the injury report for this game coming up. Is he just half speeding it, or is it a groin that may require surgery and he's just trying to get through the season? What are they saying to y'all media guys out there?
They're not saying much on injuries, and it's apparent that it's a much bigger injury than they ever told us from the beginning. I mean, this injury happened at the end of June or the end of May into June, and we're now in October, and he still hasn't played a full football game. I'll go back to when he came off of short-term IR right before that Falcons game. During practice that week, to me, and again, I said it on our podcast and everything else, those coaches and those trainers see him a lot more than we do, right? I laid out, we only get to see about 20, 30 minutes of practice. He didn't look right to me. He would run a route, and when he started to open it up a little bit, he had a little bit of that, you could tell one side was working harder than the other, and he would get done with it and start stretching out that leg a little bit. And I said it on our podcast that I didn't think he was right, and that I was concerned that he was going to, re-injure it or not be able to make it through the game. And lo and behold, he gets to the Falcons game, and afterwards, Scott Turner tells us that they played him a couple more plays than they had planned to because the game was close and they needed him. And ultimately, he ended up, missing the last drive of that game because the groin was bothering him. Obviously, we saw him for only a quarter last week. This week, we haven't seen him. In other weeks, we've seen him at least at practice, and he's working off. There's a side field for the injured players. But on Thursdays, he would come back and he'd be at least a part of the main practice and run through individual drills. This week, we didn't see him at all. He was over on the side field doing his work over there, and that's basically, light stretching and calisthenics and stuff like that. It's not full. It's not running full speed from what we can see. There's no running full speed, cutting, catching balls, any of that kind of stuff. I don't know that we're going to see him play this week. And if he misses this week, do you play him, against Green Bay in 2 weeks, or do you kind of shut him down until the bye week? What do you do? Because you can't keep game planning with this guy in mind, especially considering the number of things that they try and do with him, lining him up in different spots and pre-snap motion and all those different things. Can you game plan for a guy and then only get a quarter out of him? And then you have to alter the game plan because there's no one else that can really do what Curtis Samuel can do when he's healthy. So I think he puts the team in a little bit of a difficult situation if he's not going to be 100%. So it's going to be a week-to-week thing. It's going to be I would say it's going to probably come down to game day, and we'll find out on game day whether he's going to play or not. Not just this week, probably next week in Green Bay, and even the week after that in Denver. And then hopefully, by the time he gets to the bye week and then the Tampa game a month from now, hopefully he's back, healed, ready to go. But this is an injury that is taking on a life of its own, and it's hard to believe that it's a simple groin strain considering the amount of time that he's missed with it.
Yeah, because that's way too long for that to heal, or he's not rehabbing properly or something. But just to stay on offense and injury report and all that stuff, coming into this year, we expected the defensive line to be spectacular and the offensive line to be struggling, doing its best to stay up. They're not doing a bad job this year. The offensive line is not doing a bad job as far as the grade is concerned that people are giving them. And from what you see when you look at the game, Heineke isn't under pressure until he doesn't throw on time. So as far as the front line is concerned, our franchise goes down again, like he does every year. He gets hurt.
Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah. and then Cosby goes down. So now we're looking at a makeshift offense again. Now, Sadiq Charles, this is going into his third year or second year?
Second year.
This is his second year.
Okay, so it's time for him to show whether he got the game or not. Now, he was a highly recruited person, but, he had problems with his college season or something like that. And he dropped in the draft. We got lucky to get him. Now it's time to pop and make sure that he can stay on his team. Because if he can't show this year, then we're keeping people on the team once again every year who aren't available. What they say, the best ability is availability. That's why you go ahead and sit Samuels, because if he's not gonna play a full game, we don't need him in there. We can't play 2-3 plays, and then we gotta wait for the next game to see him. So with that said, as far as the offensive line is concerned, doing a pretty good job. My concern, and this is just, we all have a different opinion on Taylor Heineke. I just think that he's what we need right now, because our whole offense and our whole team is scatterbrained right now. So for him to be running around making plays on a different platform, that's what we need. But it would seem to me that if they can produce plays on time, playing routes that are open, so this guy doesn't have to look at 4 or 5 different players. Are they just not getting open? Because it seems to me there's a lot of people open that he's missing. Either they're not getting open or he's not throwing it on time, which is making him have to run so much, because he has more than 3 seconds back there most of the time. And most of the quarterbacks that are doing good are throwing it within 3 seconds. So that's my concern. Is Tyler Heineke going to get better to the point where he's in connection with his quarterback coach and his offensive coordinator? Or is it just time to start looking for another quarterback, whether in the draft or in free agency?
So I'll start just quickly on the offensive line, because you mentioned it with Sadiq Charles. Second season, I believe the plan is for him to take over for Brandon Sheriff next year, which is why they just franchised him. They'll try and work out a long-term deal. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think next year it'll be Sadiq Charles' job over there, right guard. As far as this season, you're going to see Wes Schweitzer play that right guard role. He's a veteran. He started a bunch of games last year. He played well. He's played well this year since he came in. I actually thought he was going to beat out Eric Flowers for that starting left guard job. So, those are going to be your 2 guards, barring injury. And Sadiq Charles, I think the plan is for him to take over next year. He was a tackle in college, and now he has a chance he's moving inside to kind of learn guard and work from there. As far as Taylor Heineke goes, I think the biggest thing is the speed with which he reads defenses isn't quite what a lot of NFL players is. But you also have to remember that while in age, he's not young, because he's been through the XFL, he's been through the practice squad world of the NFL. In terms of NFL coaching, he is quite young. He hasn't had a ton of experience with NFL coaches and sitting in film rooms and reading defenses and doing all those different things. I don't know that that's something that's going to come to him, immediately, but it's certainly something that he needs to work on. There are receivers that are open when he hits that 3rd step of the 3-step drops, and he just doesn't get the ball out quickly enough to get him. And at that point, then he's going 2nd, 3rd, 4th read, back to 1st read, running around, trying to find and make a play. He does a really good job of keeping plays alive and doing what he can with them. There are times, though, that he misses open receivers. As far as whether you're finding a quarterback, whether he's your quarterback of the future, or whether you need to go draft a guy or trade for somebody in the offseason, we're in week 6 of a 17-game game 6 of a 17-game season. There's a lot of time left in this year, and I think Taylor Heineke needs to be afforded every opportunity to either prove that he is or he isn't the guy. Because if we see more performances like we saw last week against the Saints, cool. He's not the guy. He's a great backup to have. He's a guy that's proven that he can come in and take over a game and play well in spots. If you see more performances like we saw against the Falcons, then hey, maybe he is the guy. But this is going to be something that's going to be an ever-evolving conversation because he's so short on experience, on NFL experience. He's being taught a lot of new things. You know, I go back to the Bills game where he had kind of those 2 bad interceptions, and clearly the coaching staff had preached to him that they wanted him to stay in the pocket and protect himself and not go crazy and run the ball downfield and take some of those crazy hits that he's seen. And I think that's what caused some of those interceptions, was that he was too hesitant to run. And then I thought you saw a good correction against the Falcons the next week, where he did get outside the pocket and he ran. And he did a really good job of getting down and sliding and not taking those hits. And then obviously had a regression last week against the Saints. This Chiefs defense is there for the taking. It's one of the worst defenses in the league. There are a few defenses that I would say are worse than Washington's. They're at least comparable. Their linebacking situation is worse than Washington's. Their safety situation, they are in public arguing about plays and things that are happening. At least you can say Washington's keeping it in-house. Only 2 teams have given up more 40-plus yard plays than the Washington football team, and the Chiefs are one of them. So there's going to be every opportunity for Taylor Heineke to light up this defense and throw the ball downfield and get open. And so if he goes out there and it's another stinker like we saw against the Saints, then you can start getting a feel for maybe the kind of quarterback that he is. But if he goes out there and he throws you for 330 and 2 touchdowns and doesn't turn the ball over and plays well, then you're back on the, hey, maybe he's the guy. And we're only set at that point, we'll only be 6 games in. There's a lot more time for him to prove one way or the other whether he is or he isn't. And certainly, I understand there are plenty of people who are ready to move on from him already.
Yeah. Before you go out, let me just say this: as our co-host said last week in the live, I think it was in the live, Taylor Heineke might just be Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He might be
good as a backup. Come in, get you 2 or 3 games, and then his nature rises up again.
Well, just to let you know, Mitch, I'm a little bit of a fan of Taylor Heineke. I've kind of, said that he had a lot of skills, and I compared him to a poor man's Russell Wilson or a poor man's Doug Flutie or something in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a playground guy. I realized that Taylor Heineke, is a play. He's the off-schedule quarterback. That's what he does well at this point in his career. I don't think and I think if you want to win now situation, then Scott Turner needs to design or conform his offense to fit his playground style or his off-schedule style. But I sense that Ron, that's not the kind of head coach Ron wants, or the kind of atmosphere that Ron wants to permeate onto the Washington football team organization. He looks to me like he's pushing this kind of like Pittsburgh thing. This is the almost like this is the Pittsburgh way, or this is you got to fit our system. Not we fit your system. And I personally feel like for us, if you're gonna do that, that means you have to draft really well, and you have to get really good free agents that fit your system and do a really good job free agent. And I don't know if we have the scouting and have the patience as a fan base to do that.
Certainly don't have the patience as a fan base. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, we've been losing so long. So I'd rather fit our play calling, especially our offensive playground, to what Taylor can do. I don't think that's the best way to do it if you want to win now, or even promote Taylor as a future quarterback for the football team. How do you see that? Am I correct on that with Ron? Is he more of his way kind of highway or the highway type person?
I think Ron's my way or the highway is more about personality and dedication to football, and that's like kind of the off the field and in the locker room type stuff. I don't know that I necessarily agree with kind of on the field. It's a my way or the highway, because if that was the case, they wouldn't be playing Taylor Heineke. They'd be spending all their time with Kyle Allen, a guy that they got to know in Carolina and they know well, and plays a much more, steady quarterback, much more traditional quarterback role. I think Scott Turner's done a good job of adjusting the offense to Taylor Heineke. And I think part of what makes it tough is that the base of the play calls are going to be the same kind of no matter who the quarterback is. I think what they've done a really good job with is coaching up the receivers and backs and whatnot to keep plays alive, to not give up on their routes and go into that scramble mode when Taylor starts going crazy. And I think the receivers have really done quite a good job of keeping those plays alive that way. If you want to talk about winning now, you're talking about the wrong side of the football. They spent 4 first-round picks on the defensive line. If that defense can't be dominant, because this team is built with the idea that front four is going to be able to be dominant and that defense is going to be top half of the league defense. If that's not the case, then going into Ron's 3rd year, they might be back to square one. You might have to start this whole thing over and try and figure out what your identity is, because they've invested so much draft capital, and some of it was before Ron got there, but certainly some of those guys, John Allen, they re-signed, and so they committed to him longer term. And John's had a very good season, but if you're going to pay those guys as much money as they're going to command when their rookie deals start coming up, they better be dominant. And if they're not, and you start letting those guys walk, then what's your identity as a team? What's your identity as a defense? What's your identity as an offense? Where are you going forward with this thing? Because all offseason, and you can tell by some of the moves that Ron made, he talked about wanting to build up the entire team, build up the defense, build up the receiving core, get the O-line together, get the running backs right. And then when it's time, when everything starts, looking like it's in order, that's when we'll get our stud quarterback. That's when we'll drop in, we'll trade a draft away to get your stud, the stud QB that's coming out, or we'll trade for a crazy veteran. But if he spent 2 years, flipping over this roster, which 50 of the 53 players are new from the time that Ron Rivera took over. If those guys aren't the core, aren't the guys that you're going to be able to build around and then finally drop in that quarterback, you're kind of starting back from zero, and things aren't looking too good.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah. But at that point, how long does Ron Rivera stick around? Does he get, there are extrapolations to this whole thing that aren't pretty for this fan base, but certainly we've all seen before, whether it was, whatever. We all know the names.
Well, what I always thought was that Ron was going to come in and, get us in the water, straighten it out. But we was going to need another coach to come in and take us to the next level. But speaking of this defense, no, he's fine. Speaking of this defense, though, that was our identity coming into this year. We thought the defense was going to be our identity. And speaking of the game we're playing this week, which is the Chiefs, offense is their identity. So that was going to be a good matchup on paper, preseason, looking forward. But now, both defenses are struggling big time. And like you said, man, the Chiefs are there to be got. It's just, are we going to take advantage of it? I mean, you put me ice cream out there, I'm trying to eat. So it is, how can I say? We're going to get scored on. We're going to get, do we have the ability to score enough points? Because really the Chiefs are only scoring about 30 points. And we said beginning of the year, Big Al said that we're going to need to score 30 or more to win games this year. So he was right on that. But are we going to be able to score 34, 38 something to win coming this Sunday against the Chiefs? Because, sometimes people get scared of teams and they don't want to,
Listen, there's a lot to be scary with the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, all the names that everyone knows. Last week against the Bills, the broadcast crew did a good job of pointing out, the type of defenses that teams are playing against the Chiefs to try and slow down Mahomes, and that's playing that shell cover two. Don't get beat over the top. Make them go on a 14-play, 85-yard drive, which Washington has done. A few teams have done that against Washington so far this year, but that seems to be the order, the way to slow down this Chiefs offense and keep them from scoring 1,000 points. The biggest place that Washington has an advantage is going to be right in the middle of that defense. It's going to be John Allen. It's going to be Daron Payne. It's going to be Matt Ioannidis. Joe Tooney, the guard from the Patriots past couple of years, broke his hand last week, played the rest of the first half, played the rest of the game with a broken hand. They have a rookie guard, another rookie guard, a rookie center. those guys should be able to push the middle of the pocket and force Patrick Mahomes off his spot. At that point, it's going to come down to Chase Young and Montez Sweat rushing controlled, keeping the edge, not letting Mahomes break out the outside. And if they can do that, they can really put pressure on Patrick and force him to throw the ball quickly. And then at that point, it comes down to the secondary. The coaches have talked about everything needed to be connected. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about a good interior rush, holding contain, and the secondary not giving up the big play, not doing their job. And so I don't know that Washington's going to win. I think the Chiefs are ultimately going to win this game, but I think Washington's going to keep it pretty close. I've been saying I have 37-33 as my final. I think Taylor Heinicke's going to throw for 325 and 2 touchdowns or so. I think Antonio Gibson's going to run for 100 yards. There's a lot of room to run against this Chiefs defense, and Antonio Gibson has done a really good job this year, running the football. I think that there's going to be just a lot of offense in this game, and I think Washington's going to try and control the clock a little bit, but ultimately the Chiefs are going to keep scoring, and Washington's going to have to open it up and throw the ball a little more, and that's where Taylor Heinicke's should be able to have some success.
They lost their running back too.
Right.
So
I mean, they don't ever run the ball, so it's not that big of a loss.
Well, I guess I see it the same way. I think that it depends on turnovers. I think that if we turn over a little bit more than more than they do, we definitely would lose the game. But Pat Mahomes will turn the ball over. He will take chances too. He is a all-schedule quarterback too. And of course, he has a bigger arm than Taylor Heinicke, of course, a much bigger arm.
Sure.
He's all-schedule too. He will turn the ball over too. So it's about turnovers. It's about also, I think it's about effort too. I've noticed, for me, my preference, I've seen that the football team, 1 or 2 mistakes, and we take a step back as far as effort. You see the slouching shoulders. You see the not, it seemed like last year that the football team had more effort in the games than they did this year. That's just to me. It seemed like they had more hustle, especially defensively. I've noticed that even the front four, with all the talent that they have, when something doesn't go right, the effort is not there. So hopefully we get a 2-touchdown lead and we play hard. That's, as a fan, that's what I'm looking forward to. But I guess the last question that I had for you is that for the future, for the next, because we have 5 rough games in a row here, and we got quite a bit of injuries. Do you see Fitzpatrick coming back in within these next stream of tough games that we have? Is that a possibility?
Is it a possibility? Sure. I don't, unless Taylor Heinicke continues the play that we saw last week against the Saints, even if it's a roller coaster, if it's 1 week up, 1 week down, 1 week up, you got to know what you got. You got to know what you got. And that Fitzpatrick isn't the answer long-term. And honestly, Heinicke probably isn't the answer long-term. He may be. We don't know that he's not, but he might not be. But we know for a fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is not, that he's a 1-year stopgap. And at this point, I don't know that there's any reason to go back to Ryan Fitzpatrick unless Heinicke continues the poor play. So for me, I want to see what Taylor Heinicke has. I want to see him face some adversity. I want to see him face some good teams. I want to see him face some bad teams. I want to see what he's got. And so if it was my call, I would see Taylor Heinicke the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that's probably best. You got, like you said, you got to find out what you got, whether this guy's going to progress through the end of the year or it's just going to be, he's going to be relegated to backup for the rest of his career. One way or another, we got to find out. We know what Fitz is, so that's not going to be. I mean, he was only scheduled to be here 1 year anyway.
Right.
So what's the point of putting him in unless you're just trying to get some of your money back, And with that, man, we know the game's about to come on, but we're going to ask you one more question, which we ask all our guests. You have to choose your 3. Okay?
Choose your 3.
Choose your 3, your best 3. All right. Take your time, peruse the picture. Now, there's only one person on here that would get you kicked off for life, get you banned, banned for life.
Can you see it?
No, from Big Eye. So any 3 in any order, it really doesn't matter. If you had to get into a fight,
Right.
so you need 3 protectors. Tell me who you got.
I'm going 1.
Okay.
I'm going 3.
Okay.
And I'm going 5.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's the one that gets you banned for life.
Yeah, hey man, hey Van Dam, baby, Van Dam. Hey man, hey, good pick, Mitch. I like you, man.
He's a bad MFer.
Yeah, Van Dam, baby, Van Dam.
Honestly, I thought Chuck Norris was one that was going to get me kicked off for life.
Hey, listen. Both of Al's pick, number 5 and number 11, will get you kicked off.
I'm glad that Big Al and I are on the same page here.
That's right.
At least you picked the funnier one.
Dude, did you see Bloodsport? He was kicking everyone's ass in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bloodsport. Yeah, man.
Talking about real life, but that's okay. I'm gonna give you a pass on that one. Mitch, we appreciate you coming on, man, and answer our questions. We appreciate the knowledge, and we hope you come on again. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
All right, so that was Mitchell. He came on for us. We appreciate it. Now,
appreciate what?
Technically, he's banned for life for picking Van Dam.
Exactly.
But we're gonna overlook that. As you can tell,
drugs and alcohol.
As you can tell, our cohort is back in the building.
The show just really started.
Late for work. Roofied himself to sleep. We don't know what happened because he won't tell us. But welcome back, brother. I'm glad you're alive. We texted you, we called you, got no answer.
Allegedly.
We just figured you was at work doing work stuff.
That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Something else was going on. I'm not sure.
Most important stuff.
I want you to apologize to your fans, Mr. Talk-A-Lot. We were struggling.
Let me apologize to the guests first, and then to the DMV Sports crew. I first of all, let me just say, I'll only bring up the rear. These guys right now, I know, held it down. But allegedly, there was a conspiracy. As when we have guests, I seem to be the one that's not here, and I'm wondering. I do wonder, as I am a conspiracy lover, if there's something going on here. Cue Twilight Zone music here. But again, I'm here, and I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come in at some point at all. We could have just went the next week, but we're here. Thank you. And shout out to our guests. I apologize again. Salute.
All right.
Deacon, because our main man, Trey Z, is Mr. Talk-A-Lot.
That's right.
Maybe that link didn't quite get to him.
Nothing got to me. and let me just say, this is Old Man Syndrome. It's a new segment on DMV 43, Old Man Syndrome. All the OGs are going to talk about when we were great. When our bodies were able to move, when sleep didn't matter, when the work was never really long and hard. Just the fact that it was another day. But that seems to change. Your mind says one thing, but your feet say another. Welcome to the Old Man Syndrome segment. I, Trey Z, I have experienced, yes, experienced the Old Man Syndrome lately. But you too, as you call 1-800 Old Man Syndrome. Is that enough? That's too many numbers, right? Yeah, man. But
that's my grandmother.
It's 30 numbers, man.
My grandmother used to say, "Keep living, keep living." All you
That's right.
Keep living.
That's right.
Experience the life.
Well, so you know it's gonna be a crazy show because I had a nap now, so I'm fresh.
Well, it's over with.
Coming out of the back. Yeah, where they at?
We came on exactly where the guest left.
That reminds me of some old stories when we used to hang out when we was younger. These guys would come back from the fight telling me about what happened. I'd be like, yeah, you lucky I wasn't there. All right, convenient that you missed it. I was like, yeah.
We're glad our man made it back in town. We appreciate you coming on, brother.
Okay.
Came on late, but hey, listen, it's going to be a long weekend. Because these Kansas City Chiefs are coming in a little upset and looking for some get right. And this season, that's what our defense has been. Get right defense. Every offense is getting right on our defense, and it is getting a little bit tired.
Can't get right.
You're a little bit tired. So what do you think, Tracy? Lead us off since you are fresh.
That's right.
What we got going on this week? We're gonna get this win. What's going on?
So
what's going on? We're gonna get the win. What's going on?
It's interesting. This is interesting, right?
That doesn't sound like a win.
I'm gonna make an announcement. All right. So this is where you gotta pay attention, folks. The Washington football team is the trap game team of the NFL. I repeat, we are the trap game team of the NFL. Right now, as upset as the Kansas City Chiefs are, they're also very much overconfident. They're not really practicing. Bama's is sitting down, drinking coffee, sitting at practice, what they call practice, talking about practice. Maybe somebody's doing the stairs or whatever, but nobody's really doing any work because they know they're going to win this game because it's the Washington football team. I mean, come on, seriously. From organizational side to the field, we just a dumpster fire right now, and they're not worried because they're the Kansas City Chiefs, which is our advantage. That is our advantage, gentlemen. Come on, step up. Wake up, fellas. We're going to win this game because these guys are going to look at us so mediocre. They have lowered the expectations of our skill set. And we do have a little bit of skills when it comes to our offense. If Heineke is on, we'll talk about that. Our running back game is still there. I believe Mr. Gibson will play again. Well, we're hoping. We're crossing fingers and toes. Once he's on the field, that does some dynamic. Maybe Scott Turner is going to give the ball to McKissick more instead of waiting to the second half, third quarter, or whatever, and utilize the talents. But that's going to throw people off because that means he's actually going to coach, and there's no expectation for any coaching. And so you got to understand what's happening here, fellas. We are looked at as that team. We're the Jets of the NFC East. We are not good. Yeah. That's right. Let that sink in. That's
Philly at this point. Come on, that's Philly.
Only 5 games.
No, it's not Philly. It's not Philly because nobody's questioning Philly's coaching. Nobody's questioning Philly's quarterback. Nobody's questioning Philly in the level of, they suck, but they're necessarily got it together as far as an organization. Right now, and I know that you guys kind of probably touched on it, is that everything is imploding again. It's that time of year. Huh?
When would we have touched on that? You mean earlier when we had a guest?
Allegedly, yes. You say you had a guest, but I don't believe it. Because I'm always what? I'm always right. And I was right and on time. I was on time in my mind. But here's what I say to that. Listen, no, serious. All jokes aside, there's something to the fact that we're the trap game team of the NFL, and teams are going to come in thinking that this is a win, and it's always those games where you find yourself in a battle. And if our team wants to come out of this, whatever they call it, I call it apathy, want to get out of this, and they want to play and prove that they are somebody, that's going to be enough because Kansas City's defense stinks. From what I understand, their defense, what?
Yeah.
Their defense is some garbage. So it's battle of the offense.
Those ours.
Right. That's what I was going to say. You heard me what I said. It's battle of the offense. Now, the question is, so it's going to be maybe a high-scoring game. We're going to get another 30-point game with what we like to average. One thing about the Washington football team, we love our rituals and routines, and one of them right now is letting the other team score 30. So we are going to do another 30-point game. But is the Kansas City Chiefs up to stopping what our talents we have? Now, Samuels is not going to play. I don't think he's going to play. We do have individual coming on that I hope that the coaching staff realize is that we got to go back to the old. They put your boy back on there. Forrest, even they pulled Forrest off the practice squad. Yeah. I mean, so maybe they're looking at like, hey, you know what? We got to go with what we see versus what we think. We got to get off this paper game that has pretty much been a detriment to our situation. So that's what I think, fellas. I there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
It's either going to be very, very long game. We're going to turn the game off third quarter and go home, or we're going to compete because the other team just not practicing right now. They're drinking Mai Tais, getting massages. You know, they're like, this game is a win. We're going to pretty much embarrass these guys.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Their defense is bad, and ours is bad. Their offense is better than our offense. Now, here's the thing, though, and I don't exactly think we're going to get this win this week. I can't say we're winning.
It's a chance.
But the good thing about our defense compared to their defense is ours really has the ability to show up. Theirs is just bad. Ours is playing bad. So if we decide to play good this week,
okay,
we got a chance.
Right.
We got a chance.
If we decide to play good.
No, I'm just saying they have the ability to play good. We've shown that. This defense that Kansas City is rolling with this year is just awful. So unless they make some big changes this week in camp, I don't think that's possible in 1 week.
Yeah.
We're going to show up and we're going to play against a bad defense. Now, what our defense is going to do is unknown. So we're going to have to wait and see, but I just think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be just doing too much for us, too much off the platform, too much off of the schedule. And I don't think our cornerbacks can definitely. How many people think they're going to run that play, that 7 route? We don't get about 5 of them in the game. So I don't think we don't have.
Hey, Deacon, I wanted to ask our guest, Mitch, do they run that play in practice? Does the same thing happen in practice? You know what I'm saying? Because it works every time.
They don't do it because they get ready for it. Our coaches feel like they're going to think about what we thought about when they weren't going to think about that. Therefore, they're going to think about it, and we're going to feel like, no, they're thinking about that. Then we need to do this, so they don't think about that. Therefore, they thought about that.
Huh? Okay.
No, they don't. I think they do. I think they practice that play, and I think they say,
still get beat.
Do this,
and he gets beat in practice.
No, that's the problem. It doesn't get beat in practice. But when they get in the game, they see something totally different, and they're like, no, don't do that. And then they want Landon Collins to backpedal 40 yards against a 4-2 guy.
Even I guess Mitch said everybody runs the same route tree. The inside guy runs the little hook, the outside guys runs that post, and the same dude is chasing from behind.
Who's the dude that's chasing? Who's the same dude?
Landon Collins. Every week.
Now let's continue to do that. Let's just call a spade a spade. Landon Collins falls for it every time. Landon Collins. There's somebody in the backfield going, "Hey, Landon." He goes, "Huh?"
It's on both of them. Bobby and Landon Collins. At this point, you got to take both of them out, eat the contract, and hope that the two rookies can play. Not the rookies.
Did y'all see the meme? Y'all saw the meme with Landon Collins that they had your boy, the actor. Y'all didn't see it. I sent it to you. Oh, that was hilarious. Anyway, Landon Collins is the culprit. Yes. So maybe they'll put Curl and Reeves in.
Well,
that was a better combination.
We were talking to Mitch before you got on, Tracy, and
let's bring it up one more time. Bring it up again.
And you know, they've been putting Curl at linebacker, slot corner. He's been playing everything but what he should be playing, the safety.
Because that's good to hear. That's good that he's saying that Mitch is saying that, because that's good to hear. They recognize his talent finally, that this guy is an athlete. This guy is a player. He has some football sense, and he's going to go very long and far in the league. And one day we're going to have to let him go because he's going to ask for that money. That's what they're basically saying. But they like to rehash the old tread, Mr. Collins. And he's so great. And really, Bobby McCain, you throw him in there because obviously with his talent.
These are two professionals, and they just every
there
day.
was a reason why Miami let him go. You know?
There was a reason.
He played good last year, though. He played, can't deny that. He played good last year. It's just
so did Fitzmagic.
Yeah, well, we didn't get to see him play this year.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We saw how he played. That Bama sat
He had
down.
to warm his hip up. You can't put him in there at that age.
Hey, I just sat there and talked about age.
I know. You should know then.
That's right. All right. He'll be back. He'll be if Heineke played like he played last week, Fitz will be back.
If he's not playing better by the time Fitz comes, it's no reason to keep him in there. You got
Fitz will be back. Fitz will be on the board. That's right.
Well, I want to just reach out and just say that we love you, Sean Taylor. Rest in power. You know, his daughter, his dad's coming up, so we want to just recognize this particular game. We will be retiring Sean Taylor's number, so that is he's one of our if he'd have played 10 years, he'd have been our Hall of Famer for the
That's right.
So unfortunately he didn't, so we definitely have to lift him up.
Right.
And we talked about it a little bit. It was the last minute thing that they're doing, and Jason Wright apologized for that, but nonetheless we definitely want to recognize that the greatness of Sean Taylor.
Right. Right on.
And hopefully that's with a win. I'm not seeing it, but hopefully that's with a win.
So that kind of goes back to the whole entire feeling that I think the fan base is really feeling right now. It's like the organization, really does stem around players. And can the players reach back? And I do mean reach back, because Deshaun Taylor's tragedy is pretty much an OG type situation. I mean, there's players on this team, they have to be told who Sean Taylor is based on that tragedy. So can they really understand our traditions, what this whole entire organization about? Will the players actually care to say, hey, man, you know what? Let's do it for this guy. I don't have to know him, but he was a Washington Redskin great, which makes him in Washington football great, which makes him something to fight for, which makes him this situation a meaningful game for me to leave it all on the field. That is one thing that I think, going back to what Big Al always said, that Ron Rivera has been saying, is that a lot of the players are immature. Meaning, can they understand what football is all about? Sometimes it's not about you and your Instagram account. Sometimes it's not about you and your Twitter account or what you're doing or what you're wearing. Sometimes it's about the organization and your legacy that you leave. And is this organization's meaningful game? And it should be, because it's Sean Taylor. And I think the fan base want them to do that, but they're so upset because what they see, they don't see that connection. Even when we played Dallas, now granted that last year we put a mud hole. Let's not let that go on Dallas. But will that be this year, or will it be just another game? It's always a reason we play Dallas and how we play Dallas. And really all our divisional rivals, but Dallas the most. But I think that's going to play out in this game right here, especially based on the circumstances. So, again, thank you, Big Al, for that. Rest in power, Sean Taylor, his family. No matter what happens, we will always remember Sean Taylor and him giving it up 135% every game, no matter what.
So, looking forward to this Kansas City game, Tracy, you got a W, right? Got you down for a W? Trey Z, you got a W.
Hold on, we got technical difficulties. Y'all all right? Can y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? Oh, there you go, Al. I hear you now. What's up? You laughing? What's up?
W, right? We got you down for a W on record.
Yeah?
You got one.
No, we're going to beat Kansas City. It's the trap game. Trap game number one.
Trap game W.
Team of the NFL, we're going to beat Kansas City. W.
All right, got us for an L. What you got, Deacon? You got an L too, Deacon?
I got an L.
There we go.
It's a reluctant L, but it's an L.
That's good. All that means is that the trap game philosophy is in effect. Because everybody's thinking they're gonna win this game.
I guess Mitch had him down for an L2. Is that right? Yeah, he had him down for L2.
I mean, I don't see anything past what we're doing. You know, we're barely squeaking by against regular teams, and this is a high-powered offensive team. So, if I saw something last week, I just didn't see enough for us to pick a W this week, man.
Right.
We all hope. I hope I'm wrong, but
yikes!
It didn't look good at the beginning of the season when we thought we had a good defense.
Right on.
What we got. So
that plays into my wheel. I'll go ahead. Yes.
Sound like a trap house more so than anything else. A trap game,
the dirtiest, grimiest, police surveilled trap house. I want you to understand that everybody knows that this is a trap house, and that's the best trap house, because that is going to make sure that these players are going to come in overconfident with the Sean Taylor tribute, with all the controversy going on, with the fact that everybody's reading their press and the fans are talking about how this team sucks. This is a trap game. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, you probably need to like and subscribe so I can prove it. I am always right.
Yeah, get that go-go, Deacon. Get that go-go. We going out with go-go, y'all. It's the Halloween season.
Some of us are 1 hour in, and some of us are 20 minutes. You can tell the difference. We're gonna get out of here. Like you said, Sean Taylor was one of our greats. He will always be one of our greats.
That's right.
Started at number 21, whether one person's in there or 1,000 people in there, we got his back.
That's right.
And Washington football Sunday. Now this time, just a quick note: we won't be doing a live after this show, after the game this week. But
allegedly,
ain't nothing changing on that one, brother. We gonna get out of here. We love y'all.
Love y'all.